Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Melissa Bird. Welcome back to the Thinnest Veil podcast. I am so thrilled to be joined by my friend Sarah, who we have tried to do this several times. I was actually just listening to one of my most favorite podcasts, Tarot for the Wild Soul. And she had a guest on that they had tried literally for months. So I felt like, oh, Sarah and I are winning because it hasn't taken months, just weeks. So, welcome, Sarah, to the Thinnest Veil. Would you introduce yourself and tell people what you do?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Sarah Curnoles, and I am a certified life coach, and I specialize in helping women after they go through a breakup or a divorce to heal from their heartbreak and reclaim the life that they truly want.
Oh, it's so juicy good.
Thank you.
We decided to do this podcast interview because you and I had met and had a lovely conversation in your travels. And we were just talking about a bunch of different things about what happens when people break up with somebody and what it takes for them to find themselves in this new iteration. One of the things that I've seen in my work is that a lot of times you hear people say, I just want to get back to myself. But I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you help people and what you've noticed about the people that you work with to keep them in the present and future instead of getting back to something that no longer exists because of their experience.
Yeah, oh gosh, that's such a deep question, and it's got many layers, so we're going to go into all of it. One of the very first things we have to do is we have to look at the pattern of where your attention is going.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, are you the person, and let me just, I'm going to start this. So whoever's listening, I have done all of these, so they're not wrong. It's just informing where we go, right? It's where are we starting and how do we proceed?
Mhm.
Are you the person who's spending all of your attention on the person you broke up with? Are
Mhm.
you really focused on like, I lost the love of my life, or no one's ever going to love me that much again, or why wasn't I good enough for that person, right? So, is your narrative about the other person? Is that the story in your head? Or is it really self-attacking?
Mhm.
Right? Is it really focused on yourself of like, how am I a failure? Or maybe you're just saying like, I'm such a failure because I can't keep a relationship or whatever that might be.
Mhm.
So we have to look at that first before we can build a future and before we can even come into the present. We have to look at how do we make this about you?
Mhm.
And honestly, what most people are doing, no matter which one of those you're doing, whether you're self attack or you're focusing on the other person, you're probably avoiding a feeling you don't want to feel.
Mhm.
So I was coaching somebody the other day and she was really spun out over, I left a great guy. What's wrong with me?
Mhm.
And what I could feel was she was trying not to feel her grief that this relationship ended. It had come to its end, it came to its natural end. It wasn't meant to be something long term. And she was feeling some guilt and some shame and a
Mhm.
lot of grief.
Yeah.
And I can understand why all of us would want to avoid feeling those things. Those are like icky, gross feelings, right? We don't like feeling those, and we don't have a lot of experience with it. So I help people, how do we get into your body, out of your head, and out of these stories so that we can just move through these layers of feeling in a way that feels safe to you? Because I mean, I don't know about you, but my parents, if I was being mad, if I was angry, they were like, go to your room and come down and you can be a good girl,
Mm. Yeah,
right?
I just grew up in a super violent household, so I was always bad all the time. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
but I'm really glad you brought up this grief piece because I don't even think it's that we're trying to avoid those feelings because they're hard and they're icky. I think we have never been taught in this country how to grieve.
totally.
Like the world we live in is so grief avoidant. And I feel like that's why people really struggled during the pandemic because we were thrust into a global grief crisis. We didn't have any rituals over saying goodbye to our family members that were dying. We were isolated. We couldn't go through any of the rituals of grief. And I think that because, I mean, like, we live in the land of the 3-day, bereavement leave policy, right? Like, we do not create space to allow that we will grieve sometimes for a lifetime over a loss. And I think it's so important that you're addressing that in this work because I still grieve the loss of my marriages, plural, because I've had a few. Like the idea that we're supposed to just kind of get over it and move on, I think is one of those complicated experiences that we have in our lives that lead us to not being able to really address these core thoughts and feelings that we have inside of us. And so I'm really glad that you brought up the grief stuff because I think that it's so critically important to how we heal as people and how we move forward as people.
Yeah. And I think icky was the wrong word. I should say uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar.
I like icky though,
I do too. It's
Well,
so,
icky,
yeah,
unfamiliar.
it's all the same.
It's all avoiding the feelings of grief.
It's all avoiding it. Did you see that documentary, Come See Me in the Good Light about Andrea Gibson?
I just watched it last night.
Ah, so good. Okay, so Megan, their partner, who was a big part of that documentary,
Yeah.
did a post over the weekend on Instagram because Megan's been traveling a lot since Andrea passed.
Mhm.
And people keep telling Megan, like, oh, I hope you slow down to grieve. And she says, who's to say I'm not grieving while I'm traveling? Who's to say this isn't my way of,
Of
I get
grieving.
to, yeah, she's like, I'm grieving on stages. I'm showing people how I grieve. And this is so important that I tell Andrea's story as part of my grief. And I was like, oh, she's telling the truth.
Yeah, and I think that that's so telling about how we also tell people to deal with breakups,
Right,
right? Like everybody has an opinion. Everybody is going to tell you their opinion about how you should be behaving. And it
right.
just turns into this shitty should cycle where we're telling people what to do because we're uncomfortable with the emotions that they are having,
Yep.
or it brings up something in us that we haven't dealt with. And so we're so busy telling people how to be that we're not recognizing that it's also because of our own stuff, our own shame, our own wounding, our own grief, our own avoidance. And I'm wondering, like, in the folks that you've worked with, that you feel like, what's the pivotal moment for people? I'm sure there's many, but what's the pivotal moment for people when they realize that everything's going to be okay, regardless of the outcome?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I think everybody has that moment. And it's usually not a matter of when, because that's the question I get all the time of like, how fast is this going to be over? How fast can I get through this? Like, or the old rules of like, it takes half the amount of time that you're with somebody to get over someone. And I'm like, oh, that's all crap. Um, so usually what happens is there's something that clicks into place in somebody's mind
Mhm.
where they go, oh, I don't have to be, um, I, I'm choosing my words very carefully because it's not always a victim mentality of like, I don't have to be stuck to this other person emotionally anymore. Like the past, this relationship, that person no longer has to dictate how I feel.
Mhm.
I can be in control of that. And it's as if a puzzle piece is like clicking into place for people. You just feel it of like, oh, I don't I don't have to be upset or angry anytime I hear that person's name. I can just be neutral. That's a possibility. Not that I feel that yet, but like that's a possibility. That's usually like the puzzle piece clicking moment.
And also, I wonder if it's also I can be angry and pissed off, and I
Totally.
can do that for as long as I damn well please.
Totally.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you think of the work that you do with these women, you and I talked when we were having our lunch about um, men and relationships. We talked a little bit because I'm raising a son, right, who I'm hoping treats women very well,
Right?
and who also, he has his first girlfriend. He's only 15, so but he has his first girlfriend, and he made some blunders way early on, right? Because he's just this. He's still a little boy, even though he's a teenager, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And mistakes get made. And it was our responsibility as his parents to help him see why what he was doing wasn't okay. Um, I know you don't work with men.
I do. I
You
I
do.
do.
Oh,
I
great.
take the men on occasionally once in a while. Yep.
What do you notice about them and their grief and their emotions and their feelings that you feel like is really important for people to understand?
I think sweeping generalization alert coming. However, I do find it to be pretty true with the men that I talk with. I find women are incredibly strong emotionally, right? We can handle a lot.
Yeah.
We probably put up with way more than we should, right? We tolerate way more than we should because we're so strong and so capable. Um, and like physical build speaking, like we are not built in the same way for physical strength the way that men are, like just bone wise. That's not to say that women aren't strong because they are,
Sure.
but just physically speaking. Men are built to be physically strong. It's just the way their bodies generally are shaped. Um, and emotionally are much more tender.
Hmm.
Their emotions, they don't handle rejection as well. They don't handle heartbreak as well. And it tends to take them under where they make a huge sweeping like they will make a huge sweeping generalization about it of like, well, I'm never doing that again.
Hmm.
I had that one marriage that didn't work out, never going back into marriage again, never trying it,
Hmm.
never giving my heart again. I will be the forever bachelor. Um, unless they reach out to somebody like me or somebody who's doing men's work of like, I want to heal this and I want to be better.
Hmm.
Um, they feel very deeply, and my hypothesis is that's also why they distance themselves from it a little bit because they know that if they fully give their heart, if they fully open up and be vulnerable, they are they're in a precarious place. They could be really hurt and they don't know, they aren't given the tools of how to manage their emotions
Oh
because
yeah, we don't give them any of that
right.
information. We just want them to be strong and man up and,
Correct. So not
yeah.
only does it feel really hard for them, they're not taught how to handle it at all. So it's completely like it's gonna no wonder we're in the situation where men don't feel feelings, and no wonder we're in the situation where they're trying to create their own universes where they're all in their homes and they don't have any interactions and they don't ask anybody out and they're just on video games. No wonder.
Yeah, I think that this is so, I think this is so important to the conversation about how are relating to each other and how we need each other. We're communal
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
We need community and connection and intimacy and love. And we're hardwired that way. Like
Yeah.
that is it's not just to perpetuate the species. It's also because this is a thing that we need to care for and love one another, right? And I mean, the men that I am surrounded with are so tender and so compassionate. And they live in a world that says that is a weakness, not a strength. And then women, we have these expectations that that we want that, and also we want you to be super empathetic and intuitive and loving. And like I've really struggled with this with the feminist movement in particular, right? Like we talk about may we raise strong girls and all this stuff, but
Sure.
But what I've really noticed is that we send these messages to boys when they're very little that they are not allowed to have emotion.
Right.
And I've done it myself. And I feel like if we in the feminist movement are going to have expectations that we live with nonviolent men who are caring and compassionate and able to talk to us about their feelings, then we have to change the way we talk about this entire societal structure in relationship to receive that. And I feel like the work that you're doing is revolutionary in that way because you're really helping people tap into that emotion so that they can move through it and know that it's going to come up probably for the rest of their lives. I mean, every once in a while I've been with my husband for 16 years and every once in a while I still grieve the divorce I went through in 2010
Sure.
um before I met him. And so can you talk a little bit about sort of these societal expectations we have of people and how it deeply impacts the way we move forward through a breakup?
Mm. Well, speaking on the feminist movement, I think what as you were speaking, what I was hearing was like we neglected how we told women like raise strong girls, right? We neglected the other half, of course, right? Like what is the role that we want men to have? And
Mm,
what if it's actually not different in title? Like what is it, but we change the definition of what it means to be a strong man, right? We
mhm.
still want to raise strong boys into good men, but not in the way that we've been doing it for the last 60 years, right? What
Yeah.
is the new definition? What's the new role of a strong man? And what does partnership look like where we're not in competition, but true partnership of
Mm,
it's not just women having to pull seats up to the table. It's also men pulling chairs up to the table, opening doors, you know, breaking glass ceilings and saying, come on, let's go. Like all of us come together, right? To me, that's what a strong man would be.
mhm.
um, Doing the same kind of stuff that women have been doing for each other, not as long as I think, maybe like since like the aughts, right? Because in the 90s, it was still the whole feeling of like there's only one seat for a woman at the table.
Yes.
Yeah. And now it's been much more of like pull up chairs or build a new table or whatever the stories are. But if men could join us in that, to me, that's what a strong man would be.
Mhm.
Um, and then it's also defining like what does that look like at home? What is that relationship between two partners? What does that look like? It's not the traditional gender roles of she stays home and does the laundry and watches the kids. But
Mhm.
how do we share these things? How do we share a life so that everybody um, feels expressed and seen and they have a contribution and everything still gets done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I that's harder, right? Because it's going to be defined by the individual
Yeah.
couple.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about, I mean, I just I just keep thinking of this dream world where like we can look at each other with compassion and grace and just if anybody's going through you've broken up with someone and you're still going to be interacting with other people. Like I'm going to give an example. Um so several years ago, like 2017, I was in Scotland at a retreat. And I was listening to this woman who had recently gotten divorced talk about her relationship with her adult daughter. And she said that their relationship had become really incredible because her daughter recognized her as a woman with a broken heart, not a mom divorcing her dad.
Ooh. Okay.
And I start bawling. I mean, I'm sitting in this fancy dinner in this fancy space, sobbing, like
Mm.
gut-wrenching sobs. And it was because I had this moment. So my father committed suicide when I was 6, and my mother ended up, because of her broken heart, getting addicted to drugs and dating and all of these. Like my mother blew up her whole entire. She went from being like a Mormon housewife to a party animal in the 80s, right? Like it was like
Mm,
legit. My mom
mm,
was kind of lost her shit. And she and I have talked about this actually on the podcast, so everybody knows
okay,
that.
sure.
If you've listened to the podcast, you know the story. So even though my mom's story is not her story to tell, at that exact moment at that table, I realized that my mother was a woman with a broken heart who had been left by the love of her life. They met in high school. I mean, like he broke her heart in 1,000,000,000,000,000 pieces. And I went, oh, my mom wasn't a bad mom. She was a broken-hearted woman.
Mm,
And the minute I FaceTimed her from Scotland, I was like, I'm so sorry. I love you so much. I forgive you for everything because I could feel that feeling because I had had my own broken heart. Been brokenhearted many times, but this was huge for me. Like because I had been left when I was left by my ex-wife, it destroyed me.
yeah.
And so all that is to say, like when you are working with people, how do you help them have compassion and grace as they're navigating maybe dating again or being with another person or being with themselves? That we are all kind of walking around like, that term, the walking wounded, right? Like we're all
Yeah.
walking around with these heartbreaks and these soul aches. How do you help people like what do you think would happen if we were all able to find compassion for each other in that way?
Oh, wow. Um, well, I think the first piece is that when you are entering into dating again, when you are opening yourself up for relationship, I think it's important to come from a place where you're not bleeding anymore, where your wound has scabbed over. A lot of people still have that bleeding wound,
Hmm.
going into a relationship thinking this other person is going to distract me or this other person will heal me. And it just perpetuates the wound. It's literally like you just keep injuring yourself over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And so, you know, we want to make sure that that has healed over. Um, and I feel like not everybody's going to hire me, right? Like, but it is my, I take it as part of my responsibility to say, please, let's stop bleeding on each other. Let's stop using each other and let's take responsibility for our own wounds. Um, because that whole thing of like hurt people, like
Hmm.
it's true.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, but if we were to enter, actually, let me say this. I really think what you're speaking to of like going from mom to seeing her as a woman from a broken heart, it's giving her these roles, right? Like the role of mother, there are certain expectations that come with that role, right? Of like, these are the ways she should behave. This is how she should treat me. This is what she should be doing. These are her responsibilities. The role of a woman with a broken heart is really different. We
Hmm.
hold that woman with some tenderness and compassion. I mean, when you describe it that way, like it almost stirs it up immediately in me of that compassion.
Yeah.
When you are going from, I'm in a relationship to I'm a person with a broken heart to I'm a person who's dating or I'm a person who's creating a new life as a single person or I'm opening myself up to my next big love, like we're talking about identity change.
Mm.
And I think we neglect that and we think it just happens naturally, but it will go smoothly with grace and with compassion when we think about it very intentionally.
Mm.
Of we're letting go of that role that you had as somebody who was a partner. That is no longer. That role is done. And we are transitioning into I'm a person with a broken heart. And what you do as that person is going to be different
Mhm.
than when you're building your next identity, whatever that might be, however you define it. So I really think about like the caterpillar to butterfly transition,
Yeah.
right? And I talk about it a lot of the caterpillar is it is the same, but it's not the same as the butterfly. and it has to completely dissolve because there is no part of the structure of that caterpillar that is the butterfly. It has to completely let go of that identity in order to be the new structure.
I love what you said about could we please stop bleeding on each other? I
I did
think
it so much. Like, again, everything I said, I have lived. I
yeah.
have bled all over so many people. This can be my public apology to the men that I bled over. Of I took out all of my pain on many a man, and I'm very sorry about it. We've all done it. But I would love it if we could stop.
Well, and I love how like this idea of, you know, allowing ourselves the process of healing and grieving and grace while we are transforming our identities into whatever is coming next.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I think it goes back to my original thought about we can't ever be like who I was an hour ago because of this information and this conversation is not who I am right now. Like we're constantly transforming our ideas and who we are based on the knowledge we are receiving from our experiences and our conversations and the things that we interact with in the world. And I think it's so the work you're doing is so potent and powerful because you give people the opportunity to say, you know, I really don't want to bleed on the next person that I'm going to be with. I really do want to have compassion for myself first so that I can have compassion for other people in the world. And I really do want to fashion an identity that is based on all these lived experiences so that as I'm looking forward into whatever is coming next in my life is built on who I am right now, not who I was in my 20s.
Yes. And I want to slow down here because there's something I didn't have for the 20 years of my adulthood where I felt like I did bleed all over every partner I was with. Um, this isn't an information problem. I bet people listening, I'm not saying anything new. Or if I am, like you're hearing it in a way that you haven't heard it before, but there is like a resonance of truth inside of you of like, yes, I know this. This is true. We don't have an information problem. We have an integration problem.
Mm,
We
or
we have so much information right now, right? Like we're all listening to the podcasts and the books and all of it. And I did it too. And the attachment style stuff of like I had the information. I didn't know how to integrate it into myself, into my new identity as a butterfly, so that I could make different choices than I had in my past.
mm. What keeps us from that integration?
I do think we're in a consumption culture,
Mhm.
right? Of like we talk all the time. I've been talking to people all the time about like they're listening to all the podcasts and they're still coming to me saying, I'm still stuck. It's because we're not taught how to put it into action or how to slow down to let yourself feel and I mean it's the effect of being able to get Amazon delivery in 2 hours, right? We all want it immediately. And
Yeah.
integration takes time, it takes practice, it takes failure and mistakes and saying, oops, I did that wrong. Like I did that the way that my old me did it. Let me try something different. It takes a little bit of, it takes resilience.
Yeah, and I wonder if it also takes a willingness to, again, I feel like it goes back to feeling, right? Like,
Mm,
you brought up thumbs up, yeah. You you brought up the Andrea Gibson, and I love Andrea's poetry. Their poetry just really is so amazing. And for those of you that are listening or watching, go just Google search if you have not heard
mm,
Andrea talk. But um, this idea that they lived this life of depression and anxiety and wanting to leave the planet, and then they got diagnosed with terminal cancer, and that was when they started living.
mm-hmm,
And I just kept thinking over and over again about their message of just being so present to that exact moment. And you can see it everywhere in that documentary, like being so present to exactly what is in front of you so that you can feel all the feelings that are coming in.
Oh, you just clicked something for me too.
What?
When going back to what I said earlier, of like oftentimes you're the person who's stuck on the past, right? Of like, what did I do wrong? Or that was the love of my life. I bet you felt super alive when you met that person, when you fell in love with that person. That aliveness is actually what you're stuck on. You want that
Oh,
back. Because I was thinking you were talking about it, and I was thinking about the this part in the documentary where they t that Megan talks about meeting Andrea and their early dating. And you see how alive they both were in that moment.
yes.
And I don't think they were even aware of it, right? Like we usually aren't. We don't know. We're just in it. We're having a great time. We feel great. We are chasing that high of feeling alive.
Oh, I hope you take this and you run with it and you write about it and you do videos about it and you record all of the things about it because yes, and I will, oh God, I can't, I mean, I cannot count the number of times I have looked at my husband and said, "Do you remember when we used to just go wander around Beverly Hills and get sushi?" And like now here we are like in this house in Oregon raising these children and like doing all this shit, right? Like wow. Yeah, there's still, I mean, I love who we are today. Like who we are today is magnificent. But there is still a little part of me that is socialized to keep thinking about who we were in 2010.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's
Because it
also
was
because
fun
when
and
we,
God, you just totally hit it. Because it was like getting to know you and getting to know your body and getting to know your things. And we're still hiding the quirks and we're still hiding the dirty socks. And like, you know what I mean? Like, God, I think you could just go with this all day long.
sure, yes. And that level of feeling alive and that like vitality is accessible to you, even with the dirty socks and the kids and all of this stuff happening,
Yes.
right? Like we just get stuck in our routines and our ways. And it's what our brain does. Our brain tries to make everything a habit to keep it easy and low energy. But low energy isn't attached to that feeling of aliveness. And we have to cultivate that.
Oh, I so want to see where you run with this.
Mm.
Really good.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm gonna go do a brainstorming session after this.
Yay!
Yay!
Um, what do you like if you could wave a magic wand and dream the dreams for all of us who navigate relationship loss? What is the like heart-centered wisdom you would want us to know?
This will come out messy. Honor your feelings, but don't make your decisions from them.
Hmm.
Um,
What does that mean?
our feelings are temporary. We're gonna have, there probably is statistics around this. I don't know what it is. 100 feelings in a day,
Sure.
right? They are gonna, they're gonna come up like a wave and it's gonna hit that peak and it's gonna come down. That's the
Hmm.
cycle. A
Hmm.
lot of times when we are at a peak of an emotion, we make these big decisions or we make these like sweeping declarations.
Yeah.
Um, feelings are not foundations.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna change. And so you don't want to build a house on it, right? You're not going to build a house on a wave.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even going to build it on the sand. You want to build it on good solid ground,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you want to create that foundation with your relationship to yourself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So feel your feelings, but it's not going to be permanent. So don't make decisions, don't act from your feelings. You're going to act from building a foundation of understanding yourself and having self-awareness and with I would say with like an intentional eye of where do I want to go?
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to be the plastic bag in the wind, like the old American Pie, not American Pie. What's the movie I'm thinking of with Kevin Spacey?
American Pie.
No, American
No, American
Beauty.
Beauty.
American Beauty. Very different movies. Teenage sexuality versus
Yes.
midlife stuff.
Yep.
Um, yeah, we don't want to be just sort of going wherever the wind blows. We want to intentionally decide what is the future I want to be creating. That's where I was going with that.
What I love about that is like this idea of knowing who you are
Yeah.
so that you make decisions from who that person is in the present moment,
Hmm.
not from who you think that person should be or could be or might have been or any other adjective that we add on to that, right? Like I love because who I am now today would not make half of the decisions I've made in my past, right?
Right?
But that's the beauty of being a human being, right? Like we're here to have this experience of humaning, and which means we're going to have millions of moments throughout our life where we're like, dang, wow, that may have been a really great idea or bad idea. But we have that information and we're gathering that information. And as long as we are drawing breath on this planet, that's what we're here to do, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not permanent. It just comes and it goes and it ebbs and it flows. And I really do love that metaphor of not building things on the wave. I got some
Hmm.
good advice when I was getting divorced from my ex-wife that from my therapist who said, because I wanted to like blow some shit out of the water publicly. I was just like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was losing my mind. And she said, if the truth is meant to come out, it will. Just give it time. It'll come out.
Ooh, ooh,
It,
that's good.
breathe. Do not do anything. Give it 24 hours. And if you still feel this way in 24 hours, let's talk about it again. And of course, 24 hours would pass and I would have moved on. You know what I mean? Like, I really love that idea of like building a solid foundation about where you're at right now. And I think it does go back to this idea of self-compassion and self-love and how do we get to know ourselves in these moments of grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that. That's a good magic wand.
Yeah.
If people want to work with you, how do they find you?
Oh, yes. Well, I really feel when you and I had that conversation in the coffee shop, it was like, I think I said this idea, and I meant to come back to it because you said something earlier
Yeah.
of I'm really helping to create a revolution starting at home with the individual,
Yeah.
right? Because I see this as um, helping women to stop bending over backwards for everybody else and putting themselves last.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
usually what's happening over and over and over again. So I'm really helping people kind of find that foundation of what is it that I want and who do I want to invite along with me, not how do I pretzel myself into somebody else's life,
Yes.
which is what I was doing. And a lot of my clients used to do that, and now they don't.
Yeah.
Um, So that's really one of the pieces that started this whole thing was it feels like this revolution. And I really want to help your clients, or not your clients, your people who are listening. I want to help as many as possible. So I opened up some spots on my calendar for personalized breakthrough calls where I can help people identify what are the patterns that have been keeping you stuck, and what are the actions that you would have to take in order to change those patterns, and what's that ripple effect of what would that butterfly version of me be.
Mhm.
So I'll give you a link to my calendar so that your people can grab up some time with me
Yeah,
personally.
we'll put it in the show notes for
Yeah.
sure. And thanks for reminding me that we were talking all about revolution.
Yeah. That's why we were like, this needs to be a bigger
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, this idea of the revolutionary acts are not always all about the protest and the fist pumping. Sometimes it's about doing this really individualized, beautiful work on connecting with who we are as human beings so that and with the help of someone who can help us see that and do that and gain the wisdom that we need to build that foundation is so
Yeah.
revolutionary.
I've been saying it as I help people create a life in the shape of you.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
Are you on the socials?
I'm on the socials. You can find me on Instagram at Sarah Curnoles.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much for this lovely conversation.
Thank you so much.
Immensely.
Yeah.
Have a gorgeous day.
You too.
Okay. Thank you once again for listening to the Thinnest Veil podcast. I am Dr. Melissa Bird. If you want more information about how you can hang out with me on Substack, go to drmelissabird.com. You can also find my ebook, Love Notes and Prayers Guidance for the Soul, on there. And I do have a new book coming out. I have no idea when. It was supposed to be a year ago. I'm still messing with the publisher. So stay tuned for that. Get on my newsletter. And for those of you who want to follow my congressional campaign, I am actually running for Congress in Oregon's 4th Congressional District Democratic primary, and you can find more information about that at melissabirdforcongress.com. Thanks again, Sarah, for being here. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.